When was the last time someone asked you how you were doing and you said, I'm fine? Not fine as a deflection, not fine as a way to end the conversation, but actually truly fine. Actually feeling something that you can't quite name other than to say, fine. Someone once told me that FINE is actually an acronym. It stands for 4 words. I'll not say on this podcast the first word, but I'll say most of it, and you can fill in the blank for F. And the rest, they told me, is insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Now that's clearly a joke, but like many jokes, there is a thread of truth running underneath. And I think most of us can relate because most of us have been there. You say you're fine, you look fine, you're going to work, you're answering emails, you're showing up for the people who need you, you're meeting deadlines, you're keeping all the plates spinning. You're doing what needs doing. And at the end of the day, you feel nothing, numb. Not sad, exactly, and we're not happy either, just functioning on autopilot, like you're running the program, but you're not in the room. You're not really present to your own life. If that sounds familiar, stay with me today, because what I'd like to talk about is something that I think millions of people are experiencing right now. And I'm not sure we're naming it. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Lulu Essey podcast, where we build mental fitness, confidence, and self-love by following your own blueprint on your own terms at your own pace. This podcast is about personal growth that is yours. It's about doing the real inner work of building self-love and self-worth from the inside out. These are honest conversations about becoming who you truly are, with simple tools that meet you exactly where you are. This is unedited and always from the heart. And I invite you to open your hearts and your minds as we get into it. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you were here last week, you know that this month I'm doing something a little different. I'm asking one question every week. What should we be talking about that we're not talking about? Last week, the answer to that question was self-advocacy, which is the active practice of being on your own team. And if you missed that episode, I'd encourage you to go back to it because it sets the foundation for what we're exploring this month. This week, the answer to that question is something different. This week, I'd like to talk about what happens when you're too frozen to advocate for yourself. This is called functional freeze. And before you think this is a term that doesn't apply to you, let me tell you what it actually means. Functional freeze is when your body keeps going, but your insides have gone quiet, silent. They have stopped speaking to you. It's when you're still showing up, still performing, you're still checking those boxes, but something inside has switched off. You're not falling apart. And that's part of the problem. Because when you're not falling apart, nobody asks if you're okay. And when nobody asks if you're okay, you start to believe that maybe this is just how life feels now. And it's not laziness. I want to be really clear about that. It's not a lack of motivation. It's also not that you don't care. What it is your nervous system doing the only thing it knows how to do when the load becomes too much. It keeps the function running, but it shuts down the feeling. And here's a number that stunned me. 81% of Americans now say they recognize the importance of mental health. 81%. That's real awareness. And yet this year, access to mental health services actually went down from 50% last year to 47% this year. More than half of adults in this country have not accessed therapy or any form of mental health support. So, we're more aware than ever, and we're more stuck than ever. That's not an awareness problem. That's the gap I've been talking about since last week. And for people in functional freeze, they might not even recognize they need help because they're still getting things done. And that means they're okay. But does it really? I'll paint the picture for you because I think this is really important. Functional freeze doesn't look like a breakdown. It looks like an average Thursday. It looks like getting through the workday and not being able to remember a single conversation you had. Functional freeze looks like scrolling through your phone for an hour, not because you're really interested in anything, but because you're frozen. Functional freeze looks like someone asking what you want for dinner and feeling like that question is somehow too much. Dinner? Don't ask me about dinner. I can't. Functional freeze is like you can't remember the last time something made you laugh from your belly. You can't remember the last time you felt excited about something. You're exhausted, but you can't actually pinpoint why, because you're not doing anything dramatically different. And here's what makes functional freeze so hard to catch. You have the tools, you know the language, you've read the books, you've listened to the podcasts, maybe even this one. But reaching for any of it feels like trying to lift something impossibly heavy when your arms are already full and tired. The thought of having to do one more thing is just too much. I talked about this in episode 77 when I shared the facts versus feelings tool. I know the tool. I've taught the tool. I shared it with you. And in the moment when I actually needed it, when my chest was tight and my mind was racing, I wasn't able to reach for it. Not because I'd forgotten, but because something inside me had gone offline. That's functional freeze. And I talked about it also in episode 74, when we explored self-abandonment, because functional freeze is self-abandonment happening in real time. It's your body abandoning your emotional experience so that it can keep performing. We're still physically there, but emotionally, we've left the building. And the reason I think this matters so much right now, and the reason I think this is one of the conversations we should be having and are not, is that functional freeze is invisible. The person sitting next to you at work might be in functional freeze right now. Your partner might be in it. You might be in it. and no one's talking about it because nobody looks like they need help. So why is this happening to so many people right now? I think the honest answer is that we have been carrying too much for too long. The last several years have asked a lot of us. And I'm not just talking about one thing. I'm talking about all of it, all at once, with no real break in between. The world is changing faster than most of us can adapt to. And I know by now it sounds like a bore, but technology truly is reshaping how we work, how we connect. It's reshaping which skills matter. The economy feels scarily uncertain, and the negative news cycle is mercilessly relentless. And on top of all of that, we're carrying the emotional residue of years of collective stress that never fully resolved. Experts are calling this a polycrisis. Multiple stresses happening simultaneously that keep our nervous system in a state of high alert. Our bodies never get to come back to baseline. They never get the signal that says, it's over. You can relax now. Because it's not over. Something new comes along before the last thing has even settled or resolved. It's crucial that we understand that our nervous systems were not designed for this. They were designed to respond to a threat, deal with it, and then rest, recover. Our nervous systems are simply not designed for a world where the threat never fully goes away, where the notifications never stop, where the uncertainty is a constant. But our nervous systems are smart, and they adapt. And when the load is bigger than our capacity, our nervous systems freeze. Not dramatically, not necessarily even visibly. They just turn the volume down on everything. And we keep going. Because we have to keep going. Because people are counting on us. And because the bills don't just stop. I say we because I have been there many times. There have been times in my life where I was showing up every single day, doing what needed to be done, and feeling absolutely nothing while I did it. Not sad, not anxious, just absent. Present physically in body, but completely gone in every other way. And I didn't have a name for it then. I just thought something was wrong with me, or maybe I was just wired differently. Turns out nothing was wrong with me, and nothing is wrong with you. Your body is doing exactly what it was designed to do, under impossible conditions. So the question is, what do we do? Here's what I've discovered, and this is backed by neuroscience. When you're in functional freeze, your dorsal vagal system has taken over. And that is the oldest part of your autonomic nervous system. And please don't get confused with all these terms. I'm just using them to explain. But the experience is what matters, not the terms. So when this old part, the dorsal vagal system, activates, it dampens everything. It dampens sensation, emotion. It dampens motivation. That's why your internal world goes quiet. That's why you feel numb. Your biology has literally turned down the volume on feeling, to protect you from overload. And here is the key. You cannot think your way out of a body state. And I want to say that again. You cannot think your way out of a body state. No amount of positive thinking, journaling, affirmations, or reading another book is going to override what your nervous system has decided to do. Because this is not a thinking problem. It's a body problem. So the way back is not through your mind. The way back is through sensation. And I'd like to share something I do that is so simple, it almost feels too small to work. But it does work. When I feel numb inside, when everything has gone quiet and I can't access anything, I get into my physical senses. I'll make a warm drink, and instead of just chugging it down, I'll wrap both my hands around the mug and close my eyes. And I focus on nothing but the warmth, how it feels in the palm of my hands, how it feels on the tips of my fingers. I don't try to feel an emotion. I don't try to think a thought or make it mean anything at all. I just stay with the warmth, with the sensation. At other times, I'll find something soft, a piece of fabric, a textured cushion, something that has texture. And I'll close my eyes and just run my fingers across it, really slowly. And I notice the sensation. That's it. I just notice what's there. And here's why this works. I've spoken before about the amazing research of Dr. Stephen Porges on polyvagal theory, which shows that gentle sensory input, warmth, texture, things that engage the hands and the skin, activates a specific pathway called the ventral vagal pathway. Again, the name of it isn't important. What is important is that it's the part of your nervous system associated with safety, with connection and presence. When you focus on a physical sensation, you're sending your nervous system a signal that it is safe to come back online. What is important about doing this is that it's not about a feeling, it's about a sensation. And that difference really matters. Because when you're in functional freeze, asking yourself to feel your feelings is asking you to do the very thing that you can't do at that time. And that's why it feels so out of reach. That's why it feels like the tools aren't working. But a sensation bypasses all of that. It's called pre-emotional. It's physical. It's immediate. It's so simple and it's accessible. And there's no right or wrong when you do it. You're not trying to achieve anything. There's no interpretation necessary, and you don't have to make any meaning out of it. You're just noticing what's already there. Warmth. Cold, if you prefer cold. Texture. The weight of the mug in your hands. That's it. That's the step. 30 seconds. One sensation. Now, one moment won't fix you, but it will give you a doorway you can walk through and begin to move back to yourself. If you recognized that you are in functional freeze, please remember, you are not broken, you are not lazy, and you are definitely not failing at life. Your body is doing the only thing it knows how to do when with everything it's been carrying. And the fact that you're here, that you're listening, that you chose to press play today means something in you is ready to come back. Start small. A warm mug, a cold glass, a soft fabric, 30 seconds with your eyes closed. Not a feeling, a sensation. Let your body remember that it's safe to feel something again. This episode is also available on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and follow wherever you listen. And take a few seconds to send this episode. Text it to the people in your life who look like they're fine, but you know they are carrying something heavy. Sharing really does help me spread these messages. So thank you. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And today, with a really deep knowing that it is possible to move past functional freeze, one small, gentle, consistent step at a time. This comes straight from my heart to yours. And until next week, where we'll keep asking, what should we be talking about that we're not talking about? I'll see you then.